Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for clicking on the video if you are new. Today I thought I'd talk about something close to my heart, which is female autism. I thought I'd talk a little bit about my story. I thought I'd just go through my behaviours and how I think it affects dating as well, because obviously it's to do with communication. Being with someone depends on how you can communicate with them. And if you are autistic or on the spectrum, it's going to be tough for you to date. It's going to be tough for you to make friends. And I thought we'd just talk about it. It's not going to be a conspiracy theory of, going down an RFK rabbit hole. We're not talking about the causes of autism, but just how I think it's affected me in my life. And first of all, I never thought I was autistic or on the spectrum. I literally just thought I was normal and I went about living my life. The first time it was brought to my attention that I might be autistic, it was actually someone that I was dating. And I say dating loosely. I was texting someone on Tinder and they said, "Do you know you're autistic?" And I said, "No, I'm fine." And at the time, I can remember I was in my late 20s and I was so defensive. I was so defensive that this man had questioned that could potentially have autism, because obviously in my head we've changed a lot in our diagnosis of women and how women can be affected by autism and ADHD. I think going back years ago, we just assumed it was literally, incorrectly looking back, of nerdy little boys playing with train sets, being non-verbal, being unable to communicate. And he said, "Yeah, I think you're autistic." And I went, "No, I'm not." And he said, he was a teacher, and he said, "Literally, I can tell just by the way that you write your paragraphs in a text." He says, "Everyone else just writes a blob of writing." And it was just the way I space out my paragraphs. In my head, I have to space out and paragraph my text. I don't like sending multiple texts. I send one big text and I put it in paragraphs, almost like prose. And he said, "Other girls don't do that. You're the only girl I know that does that." That was the first time someone picked up and said, "I think you could actually be autistic." And then I just lived my life, was fine. And then an incident happened where at work we had a talk about female autism and female ADHD. And one of my colleagues pretty bluntly said, "You should go to that." And I was like, "No, that's not me. That's not me at all." And they were like, "Yeah, you definitely need to go to that talk." And I went to the talk and it's like a light bulb moment. Everything just clicked. Everything clicked. Everything made sense. As I'm reading more into it, female autism is usually completely missed. It's called masking, where females will become adept at masking their behavior, masking their autistic signs. And I think that's what I did. I was pretty much a fully functioning human, but I would have episodes and incidents that people would pick up on in work and they would joke about and they would laugh about. But really, it was just me probably being autistic. So I thought we'd go through some of the signs just to show you what I'm talking about and to see if any of this applies to you, because obviously autism is on a spectrum and I don't like watching those dating shows where people are autistic. I don't like that gladiatorial sport of watching people try to date for entertainment. I think it's wrong. I understand it brings awareness to the subject, but I don't think it's right, so I don't watch those programs. So let's just go through the female autism checklist, and this is by the Oxford CBT .co.uk, and I just want to see how much applies to me. Basically, number 1, social interaction. Difficulty in making and maintaining friendships, yes. Prefers solitary activities or playing alone, yes. Struggles with understanding social norms and cues, kind of. I think I am pretty socially aware, but yeah. May seem to have superficial friendships without deep connections. See, I think for me that disagrees. I think if you make it into my circle, you've done something really right. I'm not one of these people with fair weather friends. If you're my friend, then you're my ride and die friend, basically. This is where I struggle with, because obviously my job is to be a communicator, and I think I'm really good at communicating. So this is where I'm like, it kind of falls off for me. Delayed speech development or unusual use of language, no. Uses learned phrases or scripts in conversations, no. Difficulty with back and forth conversations. Sometimes when I'm texting, but I don't think I have a problem in real life. Literal interpretation of language, difficulty understanding jokes or sarcasm. Sometimes I don't get the sarcasm. I can think of one instance in my life where I was getting my car MOT'd and I went into the garage and I was like, "Is the car all right?" And the man said, "You might want to sit down for this." And I went and sat down, and there were two other customers in the car garage and they were laughing at me. And then I realised, oh, I've missed the social cue. It was a joke. He didn't literally mean for me to sit down. He was just making a joke. And it's only in certain situations like that. I have got better as I've got older. But when I was younger, I would miss social cues, and sometimes I would misinterpret sarcasm and not understand it. But I think obviously as you get older as an adult, that does improve anyway. Monotone or unusually formal speech patterns. I don't think so. I don't think I'm monotone. Interests and behaviours. Intense interests that may appear typical, e.g., animals, books, celebrities, but are pursued with an unusual intensity. Yes, I would say yes to that. I don't really have the animal thing. I've heard that's really common in females, and why it's missed when females will have an intense interest in animals when they're younger. It can be a sign of autism later in life. I don't have that, but for me, it's books and music. I've always been deeply into literature. When I was a kid, my mum said I would literally just read all day, always go to the library. I remember once children came to knock on my door to ask me to play, and I told my mum, "Make them go away. I want to read my book." I've always been really into literature and music, so for me, that is a yes. Repetitive behaviours or rituals, lining up toys, following strict routines. Yes, I think I am quite a routine-based person. I am naturally a type A person, very driven, follow a routine of what I like to do, etc. Like even now, I've got a routine down from filming one day, doing a rough edit, then editing, doing the thumbnail, post video. I'm very routine driven, and I think you kind of have to be like that if you want to be successful, to be honest. Resistance to changes in routine or environment. Yes, hate change. Engages in stimming behaviours, hand flapping and rocking, or self-soothing. See, I would have said no, but I've noticed when I film, if you've watched a lot of my videos before, I'm always using my hands. I'm always rocking back and forth on this bed. And I think it is kind of because it's uncomfortable to film on a bed, but I would say yes, I do that. Coping mechanisms. Masks or camouflages symptoms to fit in with peers, yes. Practices conversations or social interactions in advance. Sometimes I would say, yeah, I think sometimes if I'm going on a night out or something, I'd kind of think about what I'm going to talk about. I think sometimes there is a bit of preparation, or maybe going on a date, there'd be some kind of preparation of, yes, what am I going to talk about? So there's no awkward silences. So I think that is a yes. Mimics the behaviours and speech patterns of others. I don't think so with that one. I think I am pretty much, I do my own thing. I've always been a lone wolf and I've always just done what I want to do. So I'd say no for that. Feels exhausted or overwhelmed after social interactions. Yes. I don't really like big crowds. I feel a bit overwhelmed by them. I'm more of a quiet person, prefer go to dinner with maybe 4 people and have a chat. If there was a special occasion, like someone said to me, I really want to see this band, do you want to come? I would go. It doesn't impose on me so much. It doesn't impose on my life that I wouldn't do stuff. It's just my natural it's not my natural kind of default setting. If someone said to me, do you want to go to Coachella? Got some tickets. That would be my idea of absolute hell. Even though I really love music and I'm really into music, if you said to me, do you want to go to Coachella? I'd be like, no. If someone said to me, do you want to go to Burning Man? I'd be like, double no, for a lot of reasons. I'm just not into, I'm not into big crowds. I thought I'd just go through how I think it affects me. Purely for me, it's more sensory issues. So for me, the main ones are sound and smell. If you watch my last story time, that whole situation made me realize that for me, sound was a massive trigger. I need silence, I need peace and quiet. And really made me think about that, how the noises of other people, for me, it is a trigger that I have to try and mask and deal with. And also for me, smell is a really big one. Smelling other people's food, for some reason, that really annoys me. I get really irrationally annoyed by other people's food, especially living in like an apartment block. And if someone wants to cook a curry or a spicy meal and I have to smell that curry, that absolutely really annoys me. And it's one of my triggers if I smell other people's food. I had an incident at work where someone was eating some kind of sweet chili chicken and they left the sweet chili pot like right next to me and wouldn't take it to the rubbish bin for like 4 hours. And I had to work next to that chili pot and I had to really keep everything inside of me not to kick off at this person, because this sweet chili pot and me smelling it really annoyed me so much that I literally had to put everything inside me not to crash out. For me, it smells, even like drugs. If I can smell tobacco, if I can smell weed, it really upsets me. I'm like, I don't want that smell around me. I don't want that smell in my hair. I don't want to breathe that in. So for me, I've had to pick up on noise and smell are really big triggers for me. I'm not so bothered by bright lights. I've heard a lot of people like in the office were like, the lights are too bright. Like the lights didn't really annoy me. So bright lights for me, sensory wise, doesn't really annoy me. It's smells and sound which trigger me more for some reason. But it all makes sense, because if you are masking your behaviors and you are not, for me it was just not being who I was. When I came back, I really wanted to come back as myself, even if my videos were not as popular. And I think that's what I've done. And it's hard when you see the numbers go down. It's hard when you see the numbers go down when you're being yourself. But it's what I had to do, because it says here, if you mask your behaviors, it leads to increased anxiety and stress, increased depression, increased identity confusion, and even burnout. I think that's what happened to me. I was just not being myself, and I was, for a lot of my life, I've literally masked a lot of behaviors. And I find especially a lot in dating, people don't understand me. A lot of men, when they date me, say that I'm weird, say that I'm abnormal, say that I think differently, think strangely. I always get this comment that I'm not like other women, and it's not in a compliment. It's not in a TikTok version of hashtag not like other women. It's always felt as a slight from other men. So I think if you're dating, it is hard, but it's not impossible. It's just a case of working out what your triggers are and communicating them effectively so it doesn't reach argument stage. I think I've just had to accept that this is a part of me, it's a part of my life. I'm not hugely affected by it, but I just noticed from my story time that sometimes I can't keep emotions in check. I still have issues. There's that side of me that I don't want to go away, because if I didn't have that aggressive side to me, then I wouldn't have a channel, I wouldn't make it, I wouldn't be resilient, I wouldn't keep getting up again and again. So I don't want to diminish it, but it's a case for me of recognizing why I act a certain way and noticing it before I then do something that becomes a problem. In the talk that I went to, they were also talking about the positives, because you always hear the negatives about people with autism, but they were saying that autistic people are super, once you get to know them, they're super friendly, super funny, like really loyal people. They have a loyalty that other people don't have, because they're not fake. They only let you into your circle when you really deserve it and you add to their life. They're not just fair weather people pleaser people who just have tons of friends but don't have deep connections. So if you are out there and you're autistic, don't worry about it. It hasn't done me any harm. I've been pretty successful in my life, so you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. See you soon.